Dead End Hip Hop Conversations. My name is Ken. I'm here with Beezy.
My name is Ken.
Y'all do this shit every time. I'm here with Beezy, Myke C-Town, Feefo, and joining us via Skype is Open Mike Eagle. What's good, bro?
Chilling, man. What's up with y'all? How y'all feeling?
Good. Chilling, man.
Working.
I'm loving the new offices, man. I love that.
Appreciate it.
That's what's up.
So, for those of you that may have caught the This Is America conversation about Childish Gambino's latest work, we entered into a lengthy conversation, a debate about a tweet that Myke put out, and he hit us up, said he wanted to come on the show and kind of clarify his comments or his tweet a little bit more. So here we are. So the floor is yours, bro.
Well, and it's funny because it's in the spirit of my critique of like wanting to add context to stuff. You know what I mean? For me to come and add context here. And one important thing to note, and this is something that like not everybody knows, or there was no way anybody could know. But when I originally posted that first tweet, I had just got through reading this think piece that somebody wrote where their theory was that this whole thing that Kanye is doing with Trump and MAGA was some sort of performance art. And like reading that think piece like really bugged me and like put me in this space of like, cause I was like, if this is performance art, like something like that makes me like, this person was theorizing that they would be okay with him doing this performance art. Where I was like, this performance art that I'm even more upset at. And it's because of the lack of context around it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that with certain issues, the results of them can really be life or death for some people. And so like, it might be some high concept thing to do, but I don't know if people in that position are fully aware of the consequences all the time. And so when I read that and I tweeted that, I was also thinking about This Is America too, because it kind of touched on some feelings I was having when people were asking me how I felt about that video, that I wasn't like necessarily able to like completely verbalize. But if you take that into context, I think that kind of informs, especially in my second tweet, how I said I'm not here for it, and it sounded like real negative. Like I was thinking about both of those things at the same time. You know what I mean? Now, when the conversation unfolded and people clearly thought I was talking solely about This Is America, I went with that and I didn't clarify that. But I did want to make sure that I had a chance to like do that in this conversation. So I definitely wanted to start with that.
So Ken fucked up is basically what you're saying.
Pretty much.
No, I didn't fuck up. I think that what he tweeted, I mean, we obviously had a conversation about, the merits of that. And then in the comment section, people were going back and forth on Twitter.
Absolutely. It's not, that interpretation of it being solely about This America is not on anybody else, because I didn't make that clear when I was engaging people on it, because what I was writing to me and how I was thinking about it applied to that too. So like, I didn't think it was necessarily like that I needed to say that no, I wasn't talking about that, because I was, you know what I mean? Right. But I just wanted to give y'all the context of like exactly where my headspace was.
Like there's more, there was more to that tweet than just This Is America. Was that
the one? I specifically said performance art, like in general, and about people needing help. You know what I mean? Because I think that when it comes to stuff like our current racial and political climate, and even like our gun climate and gun control and like, the violence that happens, I think that just like, it's cool to be provocative. I'm with that. I love provocative art. But I think there are real life consequences for people that people don't always take into account. There's a certain disregard for people's like stress level, for people's PTSD, for like, I think we're living in a climate right now, especially politically, like the day after Trump got elected, I feel like we entered a zone where like almost everybody I know that's a thoughtful person is just constantly high stress right now. Like all of us are constantly searching for ways to like process the situation that we're in, process the news that happens every day. And I feel like people really need like relief and comfort and answers. And so like I'm not here right now. Like I'm not here for like more confusion. I don't like more confusion. I like clarity right now. I feel like people need clarity. That's not to say that anything that's confusing is bad. I just think that with some things, like some images, some like tones, some subject matters, you can't just throw it out there like that, especially if you got a high platform. You know what I mean? Like I would personally want, and it's like, who the fuck am I? It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? But I would personally want like more guidance. Like I would want somebody who starts these conversations to take a lead and kind of like help us guide where we're supposed to go. Or else, if you don't do that, then we're having a conversation about some tweets I made about a video about some issues rather than talking about issues. You know what I mean?
Right.
So let me ask you this. So we're clearly not going to get this from Kanye, but do you think at this point that Childish Gambino, Donald Glover should come out and maybe give some sort of explanation as to what he meant with the video? Because he's already said that he wants the art to just speak for itself, but clearly the message is getting muddied. So how do you feel about that?
That is exactly my opinion too. I think it's muddy, and I think this is a situation where you don't want your message to be muddy. On y'all's video, like y'all stopped and like Googled what a white horse meant. You know what I mean? For like 5 minutes, y'all talking about a horse, and who knows what, y'all still don't know what the horse means. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know if the art speaking for itself leads us to where the conversation is meant to be led, because I don't know where the conversation is meant to be led. And that's why I can't like just straight up applaud it, because I have too many questions that won't nobody answer.
So, you being a slightly coded artist yourself, when it comes to delivering messages with art, how do you feel like people can do that effectively but still be artistic?
My approach to that, right, is like in the interview. You know what I mean? Because in the song, yeah, you got 16 bars, 32 bars, whatever. You're not gonna say everything. And like some things are better said with imagery than straight out saying it. But that's why you got the interview. That's why you do the liner notes. That's why like when you hire a public relations person, I'm 100% sure Gambino's PR people would love to have had an explanation. You know what I mean? Because that would help them know how to talk about it and pitch. Not that they had to do any of that, because he's already like super famous and, you know, maybe didn't even need any of that at all. But like, that's kind of how PR works, is they want context, they want explanation. Like my last project, if you listen to it, you know that it's about the projects, but the messaging that we put out through the record label, that we put out through the PR, that I put out through interviews, it tries to paint more of a whole picture, so that like I can be more focused about trying to make the art connect to what I'm trying to connect it to. It's helpful, and it and it's not a across the board thing where you should always do that. Of course, like it's up to the artist when they do it and when they don't do it. And and I'm not sitting here trying to say that like every P.T. Anderson movie needs like subtitles for what every scene means or whatever. Like it's not like that. But if P.T. Anderson made a movie about black people getting killed, I'd want him to talk about it. You know what I mean? I'd want some explanation. You know what I mean? And like that's kind of part of this too, because like imagine this, right? The art can speak for itself, but who the artist is and what they're trying to say means something too. Imagine this was this exact same video, and Kanye had put it out tomorrow. Would that not change how you looked at it? The exact same video.
Yeah,
the messenger.
Yeah, the messenger would definitely impact the message. Definitely.
Yep.
Right. Like, what if Taylor Swift made it? The exact same video. You know what I mean? I think that like all of that stuff is what points to like context being really important, especially with these subject matters.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is because you have the YouTube comedian that came out and did a satire about the video from a feminist perspective or something like that.
From a white feminist.
Yeah, a white feminist perspective. And maybe she looked at that video and just took it for what it was. But if she had, context and explanation, maybe she would have thought differently about that, because he would have put out there that this was a serious conversation, a serious topic that he was having through his music. But because she lacked that, she probably felt that she could just go do what she does.
Right.
So let me
I
actually.
mean, if something's open to interpretation, then then you leave it open for people to take that same message and direct it any way they want. You know?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this real quick. So do you think like it would have the same impact if he just came out and was like, all right, this is what it means, and then the conversation just stops after he explains it? Or do you think it's more beneficial that he, keeps it going, keeps people thinking about what's going on, and it keeps the conversation going?
To me, like what the conversation is makes all the difference in how I would answer that question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think, when I'm saying I want him to provide more context, it doesn't mean that I want him to answer every question about the video. I really, like in a real specific way, in a realistic way, I just want him to guide the conversation so that the conversation isn't splintering off into 10,000 fractal pieces and you got people who don't know arguing with other people who don't know about what it is. Because like I said, I think that with a piece like this, if you don't add any context, you're starting with serious issues, but then the conversations a week later are not about the issues, they're about the video. And I think you make the space to do that when you don't provide the context for what the video is trying to say.
Which is kind of what's happening. Like this could have happened anyway, but you look at the memes, people are taking certain clips and letting.
Yeah.
So do you think at some point, once he starts seeing that, that's when he should probably like kind of step in and say like, okay, this is getting out of hand.
So, because now it's looking like as a joke.
Yeah.
Which you taking a video that's from that's touching on serious issues and serious things going on in America.
Right.
Now you just turn it as one big internet joke. So I think at that point you should step in.
Yeah, it might be time.
It might be time. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like if people making a joke out of it,
And I can agree with that.
and your intention probably wasn't for it to be a joke, and then you got to step up at that point.
See, at this point, I think he sees it, but I think it's almost like, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it's almost like he's almost enjoying the infamy that the video is like becoming at this point. Like, I feel like if he really wanted the message to be clear, he would just go ahead and say it. But he's repeatedly said, I'm not going to explain it, and I don't think that art should be explained. I'm kind of in a weird space too, because I feel like that, but I also understand the other side, that if you're trying to get a message out and that message is becoming blurred, then at some point you might need to make the message a little bit more clear.
And then also part of the reason is that, and he was joking, but I think he was somewhat serious. He said he's just sensitive about, about his work.
I think he's truly sensitive about it.
But if he's sensitive about his work, it seems like that would be more of a reason to go ahead and come out and say something, because now people are making a mockery of his
Your
work.
art, yeah.
So the girl that was a satire what she did.
No, she's a fucking clown.
Yeah.
She's a fucking clown. I don't really think we should even be giving her pub about that, but she's not really making a satire. I can't even really. It's almost like she's trolling, because she knows that people are going to be mad.
Yeah, I took it as a troll.
It's a troll.
But
you got a serious issue.
But yeah, that's what I was saying. You were talking about real issues.
The video.
Yeah.
And it's like here's something that's an issue. It's like, man, we can't have anything, right? We put out this video, it goes everywhere, and everybody's talking about this massive conversation about what's going on, and then here she comes along and be like, yo, look at me.
Quick as fuck too, because it was like less than a week later.
Yeah, it didn't take any time to do it. So so again, going back to what Open Mike Eagle was saying, him coming out and saying, yo, this video is serious. Like, people are dying, could have made her, cause her to kind of think twice about it, but we'll never know.
Is it ever a bit tough being an artist to criticize another artist's work?
Yo, honestly, and like as my career rolls along, you know what I mean? Like, it was crazy to me that like I clicked on y'all's video and like y'all was talking about my tweet. I'm like, oh shit! Like, I have to like really sometimes stop and wrap my head around the fact that like if I tweet something now, it's different than if I tweeted something 3-4 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, there's more people who are gonna see it. There's more people that might hurt. You know what I mean? Like, that's something that like I'm having to try to like learn to like be more responsible for, because there is this like, especially coming from like DIY underground hip hop, like I spent a lot of my career thinking that like, say what the fuck I want. Like, my thoughts or feelings feel like they just go out into a void half the damn time.
Right.
But like, I think a combination of like my career trajectory and like who I am as an artist. I think that like when people become aware of me, because like part of the whole thing about that too is people came to me a lot and asked me what I thought about that video. You know what I mean? Like on Twitter, in real life, like people who know me like come to me to get like my thoughts on that kind of thing is special. You know what I mean? Like something in the culture, something to do with art, with rap. There are people who come to me for my opinion, and I do have a hard time when I have a thought or a feeling that's critical to just say that. But the problem for me is too is that I am in the business, like, and I know how the business works, and sometimes that makes me very cynical, to be honest. You know what I mean? Sometimes, like, and especially I think it's especially now, in these times we're in, I just don't always feel like I can just instantly trust where an artist is coming from. Especially if it's an artist who hasn't like shown like a long history of like speaking on these kinds of messages. Like my instinct now, like where I am, maybe it is because I'm kind of cynical, is to be like, well, wait a minute, like how do I know that this shock was for a positive purpose? Like I kind of don't know, like, and I don't think he's a bad person, so that doesn't, it wouldn't make sense for him to like do that as like an evil thing or something. But we are we're in a climate, business-wise, culturally, where like confusion really kind of works. Confusion is not a tactic that people shy away from using sometimes. I think I say all that to say that these are more reasons why I think it's important to provide context. You know what I mean? Because if it's too open to interpretation, then I kind of also have to be open to being like, well, how do I even know that there is a message? And it's not just shock for shock's sake.
I got you. So 2 questions. The first one, like, so at what point, you know, do you feel like he can just come out and just create, you know, do something this creative with a message? Is there any point where you believe that he can just do that, or you feel like he always has to have an explanation behind when it comes to topics like these?
I don't think it's an explanation as much as it is context. Like, let's take Beyonce's Lemonade, for instance.
Okay.
Like, those were a bunch of images that without any context of what was going on in her family life might have been very confusing. You know what I mean? But I think that her putting out the information that she put out about her family life and her real life situation, she put that very provocative piece of art out, and it was able to guide the conversation to a very specific place. It's not that you have to explain every beat. I just think it's important to just help us out a little bit in trying to process all of these crazy ass images you're showing us.
Right.
Because, you know, I come from studying psychology in college and shit,
right.
and on top of that, I'm very in tune with like PTSD and black people and the history of like racial tragedy in this country. We have a lot of stress and shock that's like in our DNA, like the shit that we have to unpack that we haven't even started unpacking yet. Conversations that need to be had like across the board. I don't want to be loaded up on more of that shit if you're not gonna help me process it. I don't want that.
Gotcha.
And maybe I don't want that for other people. I don't know. Other people I do know. Other people I don't know. Like I want to feel like something more helpful is happening than something that's confusing and shocking and bombarding me with like these images with no like help processing. And
that with like any artist that comes out, or is this like a certain artist that has a certain platform, or it's just, you know what I mean?
I do think it's case by case basis. You know, I know it's like that's kind of inconsistent for me to say, but I do think it's case by case basis. You know what I mean? I do think that if, and that's why I was saying too, I think if you take this video and somebody else does it, it feels different. And I think that like if the artist who put this video out had more of a legacy of speaking on issues like this, I mean, and while I say that, I will say that the TV show Atlanta, I think definitely does, but him as a musician, that legacy isn't necessarily as a parent, you know, and I think that I think that shit has to be contended with in this individual case. It's not gonna be like that across the board.
Gotcha.
But I think all that stuff has to be taken into account.
Got you. So in the perfect world with Gambino, like what would be the perfect rollout for this particular thing? Like, so he wanted to still get this creative piece out and everything. So in your eyes, like what would have been in a perfect world the best rollout for this video or this content?
One thing that just came to my mind right now while you said that was like maybe when Kanye did Twisted Dark Fantasy and he did that short film and that came out on MTV and he did a little interview after, like immediately. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, or like maybe something like that. Like, you know, I don't know if that would have worked or if that's uncomfortable for him or whatever, but you know, I just think something like that would be helpful. Or would have been helpful in the rollout.
So let me ask you this, like, so what was your overall takeaway from the video? Like, how did you feel about it? You know, outside of like the conversation towards the tail end, but like, what was your thoughts on, you know, the video when you saw it? Like initial thoughts and stuff.
I mean, I thought it was interesting. I mean, you know, in the position I'm in, like I always, like when I see a video, like part of something that I'm analyzing is like the budget off top. Like I'm like, damn, he spent a lot of money on this video. I thought the images were stark. Some things definitely spoke to me, like that pose he had when he shot, you know, the guy in the head seemed to point to this one painting I remember with like this like Jim Crow-esque black figure like doing the same kind of pose, like that kind of struck me. You know, I thought that the way that he executed the shock moments, I mean that was masterful, like in terms of misdirection and just like, oh, you're setting it up, he's dancing, thinking this one thing, he turns around and murders everybody, like that was like, wow. Like I think those are stark images. I think the video is powerful, you know what I mean? But like when you think of something powerful, maybe it's a weapon aimed at something, or maybe it's Pandora's box and now it's open and what happens next? You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
I like that you just went over his video, but I was actually talking about our video.
I knew what he meant. I was enjoying that.
Yeah. No, that's what I said. I like that he gave it because that I didn't even think to ask him how he felt about it.
I'm a big fan of y'all's platform in general. Like I I would say that to all of y'all. I feel like in person, every one of y'all that I've met, like I love that y'all are who y'all are. Y'all are individuals. Y'all have y'all takes. Y'all are very, very respectful of each other and respectful of like hip hop in general. And that y'all are black men with this platform and y'all discuss issues. Like I feel like y'all should be on every day. You know what I mean? I feel like y'all should have a podcast. Y'all should have a TV show. Like all this, because there's a huge space for these discussions. These discussions have to happen. These discussions especially have to happen with black people. Like, you know, there's hip hop writers that do think pieces, and a lot of them are outside of the culture. You know what I mean? And they take whatever point of view that they want to take, and it's all good. But like, these things have to be chopped up like among us too. You know what I mean? I feel like these conversations need to be had. So I'm really happy y'all have them. And every time I watch y'all, I'm enlightened by y'all's viewpoints on everything. I think the last one I watched from y'all was the J. Cole thing. I don't listen to a lot of new rap records, to be honest. So I don't always check all the reviews because I don't even know what the hell is out there half the time. But when there is something that I hear that's new, I usually go, you know, check for y'all's opinion on it too.
You want to plug the show real quick?
Oh yeah, it's New Negroes.
I see that.
That's it right there, the New Negroes. So we're working on that right now. We got, like I said, we got a last day of production tomorrow for Comedy Central. It's dope. We got a bunch of great stand-up comics. We made a bunch of dope music for it. For artists who I can't say yet, but they're all really great, and I think people are going to be really happy with the music that we made. It's all like, you know, it's all good, fun, funny music with real lyrics that speaks, you know, some degree of social commentary too. So we're very proud of it and excited to show everybody what we came up with.
Hey man, we appreciate you, man, for like reaching out and wanting to talk to us about it and just kind of clarify your statements and stuff, man. That's pretty dope. I wish more artists would do that, actually, you know. So yeah.
We have a space for that now.
Yeah, we got a space for it now.
It's exactly in the spirit of what my critique was. You know what I mean? Like, I added to confusion with those tweets. And I could tell that by the way y'all was talking about it. So I'm like, let me address the confusion. You know what I mean? Like,
it was mainly just me.
You know what I mean? Like, at least.
It was mainly just me though.
And just to say this too, like, I'm not on some soapbox where I'm trying to tell anybody else how to do their art. I just have my like emotional reaction based on what my values are, and it's not to try to dictate what anybody else does. But I think that, it's just, to me, my reaction is just part of the conversation.
Nah, for sure, man.
And I'm glad you felt comfortable enough to reach out to us and ask to come on and talk. So that door is always open, you know that. So I greatly appreciate you coming on here. You're definitely a friend of the show. We all love your work, and we love your mind.
I appreciate you having me, man. I appreciate every time y'all talk about me, man. That's an honor. You know what I mean?
That's what's up.
Cool, man. Well, appreciate you coming on the show. So yeah, you guys heard the convo, man. Let us know what you guys think about Open Mic Equals comments and his clarification in the comment section. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace. Yo, and if anybody else out there, if there's another artist out there, you guys want to come on the show and you hear something that we say and you guys want to come, provide context, then you're more than welcome. The invitation is always there.